chosen ones, pause for a moment. Breathe. What you are about to hear is not casual information. This is an urgent divine message, and it was not released to the masses. It is meant only for those who truly walk with God. If your heart is not surrendered, if your spirit is not disciplined, this message will not sit well with you. And that is fine. This is not for you. But if you are still here, if something inside you told you not to scroll away, then understand this clearly. God allowed this message to reach you now, because this is the moment you needed it most. There has been a quiet warning in the spirit. You may not have spoken about it, but you have felt it. Your presence is being noticed. Your energy is being observed. They are monitoring your social media, not because of what you post, but because of who you are. And God does not warn without purpose. He warns to protect, to prepare, and to strengthen. Do not leave early. Stay with me until the end, because what you are about to hear will bring clarity where there has been confusion, peace where there has been unease, and wisdom where silence was needed. Before we go deeper, chosen ones, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this message with those walking the same path. Comment 777 in the comments as a declaration that you are alert, aligned, and covered by divine wisdom.
Why chosen ones are always observed. Chosen ones, let me settle your spirit first. Being observed is not a punishment. It never was. Long before social media existed, long before screens and platforms, those who carried God's calling were always watched. Not because they were weak, but because they were different. Light has a way of drawing attention without making noise. And when God places his mark on a soul, that soul does not need to announce itself. The world notices on its own. You need to understand this clearly, so your mind can rest. Observation is a response, not an attack. It happens because your presence carries weight. Even when you say nothing, even when you post nothing, something about you speaks. Your calm unsettles chaos. Your discipline exposes disorder. Your restraint reveals others' lack of control. That is why chosen ones are rarely left unnoticed. Many of you wonder why attention follows you even when you try to stay low. You don't chase validation. You don't overshare. You don't seek approval. And yet, eyes still turn. That is not coincidence. That is calling. God designs chosen ones to move differently. And difference is always observed. Let me say this gently, but firmly. People do not monitor what they don't sense matters. Curiosity follows value. Observation follows impact. Even silence can be loud when it carries authority. Some are watching because they feel inspired. Some are watching because they feel convicted. Some are watching because your life forces them to confront what they avoid in themselves. Not everyone who watches intends harm. Many are simply trying to understand what they cannot replicate. You must also understand this. God allows observation for refinement. When you know you are seen, you learn discipline. You learn self-control. You learn wisdom. A hidden season builds foundation, but a visible season builds mastery. God does not elevate chosen ones suddenly without first teaching them how to carry attention without losing themselves. This is where many people misunderstand the warning. God is not telling you to fear being watched. He is teaching you how to remain grounded while being noticed. There is a difference. Fear shrinks you. Wisdom strengthens you. Fear makes you reactive. Wisdom makes you intentional. God's chosen do not panic under observation. They grow steady. Let me correct another false belief. Being observed does not mean you are in danger. Sometimes it means you are in alignment. When your life starts reflecting discipline, growth, peace, and direction, it disrupts those who are lost. Not because you attack them, but because your existence exposes contrast. Darkness does not need to be confronted to feel threatened by light. It reacts automatically. You may have noticed that attention increases when you are doing well internally, when your peace deepens, when your confidence becomes quiet, When you stop explaining yourself, that is not accidental. When chosen ones stop seeking validation, observers increase. Because confidence without noise confuses people who rely on attention to feel real. Listen carefully. Observation becomes heavy only when you forget who you are. But when you remain rooted in God, observation loses its power. You are not responsible for what others project onto you. You are only responsible for staying aligned. God never asked you to manage how others perceive you. He asked you to walk upright. Some of you need to hear this clearly. You are not being watched because you are doing something wrong. You are being watched because you are doing something right. Growth always attracts witnesses. Transformation always draws curiosity. And authority, real authority, is always noticed even when it whispers. Let me also say this so your heart can rest. God does not allow exposure without coverage. Never. If He allows eyes to turn toward you, He has already placed a hedge around you. Protection always comes before visibility. That is divine order. What looks like vulnerability is often evidence of trust. God trusts you with this season. Many chosen ones struggle here because they confuse privacy with isolation. God does not want you isolated. He wants you wise. There is a difference. Isolation comes from fear. Wisdom comes from discernment. You can be seen and still be protected. You can be known and still be untouchable. And here is something important. Not all observation is external. Sometimes God allows you to feel watched, so you become more conscious of yourself. So you speak with intention, so you move with integrity. So you stop living casually with a sacred calling. Awareness sharpens maturity. This is not a season to shrink. It is a season to stabilize. When you stop reacting emotionally to attention, it loses its grip. When you stop needing approval, observation becomes irrelevant. When your identity is rooted in God, no amount of watching can disturb your peace. So relax your shoulders, slow your breath. Nothing is wrong, nothing is out of control. This is not chaos, this is order. God is teaching you how to stand calmly while being seen. That skill will serve you in every next level He brings you into. And remember this, chosen one. Those who are truly dangerous are rarely observed quietly, but those who are truly impactful are always noticed silently. Stay grounded, stay disciplined, stay aligned. God is not surprised by any of this, and neither should you be. There is another layer you must understand, and this one will bring your nervous system peace. Observation does not define your destiny. It does not control your future. It does not give power to anyone over you. It simply reveals that your life is registering on a level beyond the ordinary. And when God elevates awareness around you, He also elevates your inner strength to carry it. Some of you have felt the urge to pull back, to question yourself, to wonder if you should dim your light. That urge is not from God. God never asks His chosen ones to become smaller so others can feel comfortable. He asks you to become steadier so pressure cannot shake you. This is not about hiding. This is about mastery. Mastery of emotion, mastery of speech, mastery of reaction. When you are anchored in God, observation becomes background noise. It loses meaning. It loses weight. You stop interpreting everything personally. You stop scanning for threats that are not there. You learn to move calmly, speak selectively, and rest deeply. That is the posture of the chosen. Calm, aware, unbothered. Let this truth settle in you. You are not exposed. You are established. And God is far more involved in this season than you realize. The spiritual meaning behind social media, attention. Chosen ones, let us bring clarity where the mind has been unsettled. Social media is not just a platform of images and words. Spiritually, it functions like a mirror. It reflects presence, it amplifies energy, and it reveals alignment. That is why attention online often feels deeper than logic can explain. You are not imagining it. You are sensing it correctly. In earlier generations, observation happened in physical spaces, in villages, in communities, in quiet rooms. Today, that same spiritual dynamic has moved into digital spaces. The platform has changed, but the principle has not. Wherever humans gather attention, spirit follows, and chosen ones naturally register in those spaces without effort. Here is something important you must understand so your mind can rest. Attention on social media is rarely about what you post. It is about what you carry. Many of you post less than others. Some of you hardly speak, and yet you are noticed. That alone should tell you this is not about performance. It is about presence. Energy does not need volume. It needs alignment. When your inner world is ordered, your outer presence becomes magnetic. People feel something when they come across you. They may not know why they pause. They may not know why they return, but something in them recognizes authority, peace, or depth. And that recognition creates attention. God is not warning you about social media because it is evil. He is warning you because it is revealing. It reveals habits. It reveals discipline. It reveals emotional patterns. And most importantly, it reveals maturity. That is why chosen ones must be conscious in these spaces. Not fearful, conscious. Some of you have wondered why people watch without interacting, why they observe quietly, why engagement feels uneven. Let me tell you something gently. Silence does not mean absence, and watching does not always mean intention. Many are simply studying what they do not understand. Your restraint confuses a world addicted to noise. Chosen ones are often misunderstood online because they do not move with urgency. You do not overshare your emotions. You do not explain every decision. You do not chase reactions. That creates intrigue. But more than intrigue, it creates projection. People fill silence with their own assumptions, and that is where many of you begin to feel uneasy. Let me ease that unease. Projection is not your responsibility. God did not assign you to manage others' interpretations. He assigned you to walk upright. When you accept that, a heavy burden lifts from your shoulders. You stop scanning comments for meaning. You stop reading between lines. You stay centered. God's warning is not about who is watching. It is about how you respond to being watched. Social media tempts people to explain themselves, to clarify, to defend, to overexpose. Chosen ones must resist that urge. Explanation weakens authority. Silence strengthens it. Not all silence, but disciplined silence. This is where wisdom comes in. God does not want you to disappear. He wants you to discern. There is a time to speak and a time to remain still. Social media blurs that boundary for many, but chosen ones are being trained to restore it. You are learning to express without leaking, to exist without overexposure. Here is a truth many struggle to accept. The more aligned you become, the less validation you will receive from the external world. That does not mean you are declining. It means you are stabilizing. Shallow attention fades when depth increases, and depth attracts a different kind of watcher. Quiet, observant, intentional. Some of you feel watched because your spirit has matured faster than your environment. You have outgrown certain energies, and when growth happens silently, it creates imbalance in relational dynamics. People notice change even when you say nothing. They sense distance even when you remain kind. God is teaching you how to hold that tension without guilt. Growth requires separation, not abandonment. Separation. You are not called to be accessible to everyone. Accessibility is not love. Discernment is. Let me say this clearly. Social media is not where your identity lives. It is not where your worth is measured. It is not where your calling is confirmed. It is simply a surface where internal realities reflect outward. When you remember that, it loses power over your emotions. You do not need to audit who watches you. You do not need to monitor reactions. That is not your assignment. Your assignment is alignment. When alignment is intact, observation becomes irrelevant. It no longer touches your peace. God is also using this awareness to mature your boundaries. Some of you are learning that not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your process, or your healing. Exposure before readiness can drain you. That is why God warns early, not to restrict you, but to protect your energy. Chosen ones must be especially careful not to confuse visibility with purpose. Just because something can be shared does not mean it should be. Wisdom asks different questions than impulse. Wisdom asks timing, impact, consequence. And here is something freeing. You are allowed to be private and powerful at the same time. Privacy is not hiding. It is stewardship. God trusts you with insight, not to broadcast it, but to live it. When others see the fruit, explanation becomes unnecessary. Many of you are stepping into a season where your calm speaks louder than your words, where your absence creates more curiosity than your presence ever did. That is not manipulation. That is maturity. You are no longer driven by reaction. You are guided by discernment. So let your heart relax. You are not under threat. You are under training. God is refining how you carry attention so that when greater responsibility comes, you will not crumble under it. Social media is just one classroom, and you are passing the lesson quietly. Remember this: when God wants to elevate you, He first teaches you how to remain composed while being noticed. That skill will protect you far beyond any platform. Stay steady, stay intentional, stay rooted. God is not confused about where you are, and neither should you be. There is one more truth you need to carry with you, because it will protect your peace daily. Attention does not require engagement to exist. Someone can observe your journey and never speak. They can sense your growth and never acknowledge it. That silence is not rejection, and it is not opposition. Often, it is recognition without permission. They see something they are not ready to confront. Chosen ones must stop interpreting every form of attention emotionally. Emotional interpretation creates unnecessary weight. Discernment creates clarity. When you remain emotionally neutral, you regain authority over your inner world, and authority begins within, not online. God is also teaching you that not every door of access must remain open. You are allowed to limit what others know, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Oversharing is not honesty. Sometimes it is leakage, and God is sealing leaks in this season. When you stop needing to be understood, peace increases. When you stop explaining your silence, strength returns. Your life does not need constant narration. Fruit speaks for itself. And those who are meant to understand will understand without explanation. Let this settle deep in you. Social media attention does not define your calling. It simply reveals that your alignment is becoming visible. Walk calmly. Nothing is required of you except faithfulness. Signs you are being spiritually observed, not attacked. Chosen ones, let us bring relief to your mind. Many of you have sensed something shifting, but you could not name it. When awareness rises without clarity, the mind fills the gap with anxiety. That is why this section matters, not to alarm you, but to stabilize you. First, understand this foundation clearly. Being spiritually observed does not mean you are under attack. Observation and attack are not the same. Attack seeks to break. Observation seeks to understand. Confusing the two creates unnecessary fear. God does not operate through fear. He operates through awareness. One of the first signs many chosen ones notice is a change in how people engage with them. Less direct interaction, more quiet attention. People may stop commenting but continue watching. They may stop initiating but remain present. That shift can feel unsettling if you do not understand it. But spiritually, it often means your energy has outgrown casual interaction. People sense depth and become cautious. Another sign is increased silence around you. Silence is not emptiness, it is response. When your life begins to reflect discipline, peace, or direction, it removes excuses from others. Silence often follows exposure, not because you confronted anyone, but because your presence did. And when people are unsure how to engage with growth, they observe instead of participate. Many of you have also felt an increase in internal awareness. You sense when to speak and when not to. You feel prompted to pause before posting. You notice subtle discomfort when oversharing. That is not paranoia. That is discernment sharpening. God often increases internal sensitivity before external responsibility. Let me say this gently. Anxiety does not come from being watched. Anxiety comes from misinterpreting what being watched means. When your identity is secure, observation loses emotional power. When identity is uncertain, attention feels heavy. That is why God strengthens identity before expanding visibility. Some of you have noticed repeated patterns, the same people viewing consistently, the same energy circling quietly. Patterns are different from coincidences, but patterns do not automatically indicate danger. Often they indicate curiosity, comparison, or self-reflection in others. Again, not your burden to manage. Here is another sign. People may begin projecting onto you. They assume things without asking. They interpret your silence incorrectly. They read meaning where none was intended. Projection increases when people cannot access you easily. And chosen ones are not easily accessed emotionally. That boundary is protective. You may also notice that your peace triggers discomfort in others. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because peace is rare. When someone is accustomed to chaos, calm feels foreign. That discomfort can turn into observation. Watching becomes a way to understand what they cannot embody. Let me correct something important. Spiritual observation does not mean everyone watching has ill intent. Most do not. Some are learning, some are inspired, some are confused, some are comparing their life to yours silently. Intent varies, and God does not require you to label it. Another sign is a sense of being guided to reduce emotional expression publicly. You may feel less inclined to share struggles, less inclined to vent, less inclined to explain your process. That is not repression. That is maturation. Emotional discipline is a sign of spiritual growth. Some chosen ones notice that attention increases when they withdraw slightly, when they post less, speak less, explain less. That is not contradiction, it is contrast. Silence amplifies presence when presence is rooted. The less you perform, the more authentic you become, and authenticity draws attention without effort. You may also feel an increased desire for privacy, not isolation. Privacy. You want your inner life protected. You want sacred things kept sacred. That instinct is healthy. God guards what he values, and he teaches his chosen to do the same. Here is a sign that brings comfort. You feel calm despite awareness. That calm is evidence that God is involved. If something were wrong, your spirit would feel heavy, not grounded. Peace is confirmation, not excitement, not fear. Peace. Some of you are realizing that you no longer react the way you used to. You do not check who viewed. You do not analyze motives. You do not chase understanding. That emotional neutrality is strength. It means observation no longer defines you. Let me say this clearly. God does not warn his chosen to frighten them. He warns to refine them. Awareness is not meant to disturb your rest. It is meant to deepen your wisdom. And wisdom always feels quieter than fear. You may also sense that certain relationships are shifting, not ending, but repositioning. Distance without conflict, silence without hostility. That is often God creating space for growth. Observation increases when engagement decreases because alignment is changing. Another sign is an inner prompting to slow down, to be more intentional, to move deliberately. That slowing is not stagnation, it is stabilization. God slows his chosen before accelerating them. Stability comes first. Chosen ones must understand this. If God did not trust you, he would not make you aware. Awareness is evidence of readiness. You are not being overwhelmed, you are being prepared. Let me bring your nervous system to rest. Nothing is wrong, nothing is collapsing. You are not under threat, you are under refinement. And refinement feels unfamiliar at first. Observation does not diminish your authority, it reveals it. And when authority becomes visible, discipline becomes essential. That is the lesson God is teaching gently. So stop scanning for danger, stop assuming the worst, stand in peace, move with intention, speak with wisdom. You are safe, you are guided, and you are exactly where you are supposed to be. There is one more sign many chosen ones overlook, and recognizing it will quiet your mind even further. You begin to feel less reactive to being misunderstood. Things that once bothered you no longer reach the same depth. You notice assumptions forming around you, but they do not provoke the urge to correct or explain. That emotional detachment is not coldness, it is maturity. God trains his chosen to remain composed when misread, because leadership, whether public or private, always comes with misunderstanding. If you cannot remain steady when observed, you will struggle when entrusted with greater influence. This season is strengthening your emotional spine. Another subtle sign is the loss of interest in external validation. Likes, comments, or recognition carry less weight. You begin to measure your days by peace instead of reaction. That shift signals internal authority forming. When authority grows inward, observation outward increases naturally. You may also feel drawn towards silence, not as avoidance, but as rest. Silence becomes nourishing instead of lonely. That is a clear sign that God is anchoring you deeper within yourself. And when you are anchored, observation cannot disturb you. Let this truth settle gently. Awareness without fear is wisdom. You are not becoming hyper-vigilant, you are becoming grounded, and grounded souls are the hardest to shake. God's warning. What to share and what to guard. Chosen ones, this is where clarity replaces confusion. God's warning is not about fear, it is about stewardship. When God warns, he is not pulling you back. He is positioning you forward with wisdom. And wisdom always involves boundaries. Let me say this plainly. Not everything that happens within you is meant to be shared publicly. That does not mean you are dishonest, it means you are disciplined. God never intended for his chosen to live exposed. He intended them to live intentional. In earlier seasons, you may have shared freely, your struggles, your emotions, your thoughts. That was part of learning. But this season is different. God is teaching you restraint, not because you have less to say, but because your words now carry weight. And weight requires control. Here is the warning many misunderstand. Oversharing does not create connection. It often creates vulnerability without protection. When you expose sacred processes prematurely, you invite opinions into places God is still working quietly. That interference is unnecessary. Healing needs privacy. Growth needs space. God is not asking you to disappear. He is asking you to discern. There is a difference. Discernment asks one question before every expression. Does this serve alignment, or does it leak energy? Many things feel honest, but are not wise. Honesty without timing can drain you. Chosen ones must learn to separate emotional release from public expression. Not every emotion needs an audience. Some emotions need prayer, some need rest, some need silence. When you release everything outwardly, you leave little room for God to work inwardly. This is especially important now. When people are observing, your words become reference points. What you share becomes material for interpretation. God warns you not because others are watching, but because he is shaping you into someone who does not live reactively. Another truth you must accept is this. Not everyone who listens deserves access. Access is earned through alignment, not curiosity. You are allowed to keep your inner world guarded. That is not pride. That is stewardship. Let me speak to those who feel guilty about pulling back. You are not abandoning anyone. You are obeying God. Growth always requires repositioning, and repositioning often feels like withdrawal to those who are used to access. God's warning is also about emotional discipline. Emotional discipline is not suppression. It is mastery. It means you choose when, where, and how your emotions are expressed. That choice restores authority. Without it, emotions lead you instead of serving you. Some of you are learning that silence is not emptiness. It is power. Silence allows God to speak. It allows clarity to form. It prevents regret. Many words spoken in emotional moments cannot be retrieved. God protects you by teaching you restraint. Here is another layer. The more your life aligns, the more others will try to define you. Labels will appear. Assumptions will form. God warns you not to fight these narratives. Fighting pulls you into a lower frequency. Truth does not need defense. It reveals itself over time. You are also being taught to guard your future. Some things God shows you are not meant to be shared until they manifest. Vision needs incubation. When you expose vision too early, you invite doubt into sacred space. Doubt slows momentum. Let me reassure you, guarding does not mean isolating. You are still called to love. You are still called to serve. But service does not require exposure. Love does not require access to your inner process. You can be present without being transparent. God's chosen are not secretive. They are selective. Selectivity is wisdom applied. You are learning to choose environments that nourish you, not drain you. Conversations that build you, not deplete you. There is also a warning about comparison. When others observe your journey, comparison naturally arises. You must guard your heart from measuring yourself against reactions. Reaction is unstable. Alignment is steady. Stay steady. This season demands one thing above all: intentional living, intentional speech, intentional rest. When you move intentionally, you regain control of your energy, and energy is the currency of spiritual authority. Let me say something bold but necessary. Not everyone celebrating your visibility celebrates your growth. Some celebrate proximity. Some celebrate familiarity. God warns you so you do not confuse attention with support. Support reveals itself through respect for your boundaries. If someone pressures you to share more than you are comfortable with, that pressure is not love. Love honors timing. God honors timing. And He teaches His chosen to do the same. This is not about hiding truth. It is about honoring process. Truth shared at the wrong time can become burden instead of blessing. Wisdom asks patience. So take this warning with peace. You are not being restricted. You are being refined. Guard your words. Guard your emotions. Guard your vision. Not because you are afraid, but because you are valuable. And remember this: the more you guard what is sacred, the more God entrusts you with. Protection precedes promotion. Always. There is something else God is correcting gently in this season, and many chosen ones need to hear it without shame. You are not required to prove your growth to anyone. Growth that needs constant proof is not yet settled. When God matures a soul, He removes the urge to convince. Conviction replaces explanation, and conviction is quiet. Some of you have been sharing to feel understood. That is human. But God is teaching you that being understood by everyone is not part of your calling. Being aligned is. When alignment becomes your priority, misunderstanding no longer wounds you the same way. You stop needing agreement to feel secure. God's warning also touches motivation. Before you share anything, ask yourself honestly, am I sharing to release or to receive? Am I sharing to glorify God or to soothe my emotions? This question is not meant to condemn you. It is meant to refine you. Emotional relief is temporary. Spiritual clarity is lasting. There will be moments when silence feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is not danger. It is detox. You are detoxing from overexpression, from emotional immediacy, from the habit of turning inner experiences into public moments. Detox always feels strange before it feels peaceful. God is also teaching you to let results speak. When fruit appears, words become unnecessary. When transformation is real, it does not need advertisement. People will notice change without being told. And those who need explanation are often not the ones meant to walk with you into the next season. You must also learn this boundary. Access does not equal intimacy. Many people have access to your presence, but very few should have access to your process. Your process is sacred. It is where God works most deeply. Guard it with reverence. This warning is not about becoming distant. It is about becoming centered. Centered people do not overshare. They overflow naturally when the time is right. Until then, they remain rooted. Let this truth settle in your spirit. God is not silencing you. He is tuning you. And when your voice is tuned, every word carries authority without strain. So do not rush expression. Do not feel pressured to perform vulnerability. Walk slowly. Speak selectively. Rest deeply. What God is building in you does not need constant visibility to become powerful. How chosen ones stay protected without fear. Chosen ones, now let your shoulders drop. This is where peace settles fully. Protection in God's kingdom does not come from control. It comes from alignment. And alignment does not require fear to function. Fear actually disrupts protection. That is why God does not warn you to make you anxious. He warns you so you can remain calm. Let me say this clearly. Fear is not part of your design. It never was. Fear belongs to uncertainty. And when God speaks, uncertainty leaves. You are not meant to move cautiously through life like something is about to go wrong. You are meant to move confidently, knowing God is already ahead of you. Chosen ones stay protected first by staying internally ordered. When your emotions are steady, your thoughts are disciplined, and your spirit is anchored, nothing external can penetrate deeply. Chaos only enters where there is disorder. God teaches his chosen to cultivate inner order, so protection becomes natural, not forced. Another way protection operates is through discernment, not suspicion. Discernment is calm. Suspicion is restless. Discernment allows you to notice without reacting, to observe without absorbing. When something is not meant for you, discernment gently redirects you without emotional disturbance. God also protects you through timing. Many dangers never reach you because God delays access. Delayed responses, missed connections, changes in plans. These are not inconveniences, they are interventions. When you trust timing, you stop forcing outcomes, and forced outcomes often bypass protection. You also stay protected by emotional restraint. Emotional restraint is not suppression, it is sovereignty. When emotions no longer control your reactions, external situations lose leverage over you. Many attacks only succeed because emotions are engaged prematurely. Calm disarms interference. Another layer of protection is spiritual routine. Quiet prayer, reflection, rest. These are not passive acts, they are stabilizers. When your spirit is nourished regularly, discernment sharpens automatically. You don't have to look for danger, you simply recognize peace and follow it. Chosen ones also remain protected by not advertising vulnerability. Vulnerability is sacred. It belongs in safe spaces. Not every space is safe just because it is visible. God teaches you where to lay things down and where to carry them privately. That wisdom keeps you intact. Let me address something important. Protection does not mean nothing ever touches you. It means nothing defines you. You may notice attention, you may sense observation, but it does not disturb your center. When your center is anchored in God, everything else becomes peripheral. God also protects you by strengthening your identity. When you know who you are, external influence weakens. Confusion cannot settle where clarity lives. That is why God spends so much time grounding you before elevating you. Some of you are learning that rest is a form of protection. When you are rested, you respond wisely. Exhaustion creates vulnerability. God does not glorify burnout. He glorifies obedience. And obedience often looks like slowing down. Another form of protection is silence. Silence prevents unnecessary exposure. Silence allows God to act without interference. Silence is not weakness, it is strategic. Many battles are avoided simply because nothing was said. Let me bring comfort to your heart. You do not need to monitor who is watching you. That is not your role. God sees more than you ever could. When you release the need to track attention, your nervous system relaxes, and relaxed systems discern better. You also stay protected by choosing peace repeatedly. Peace is not passive, it is decisive. It means you refuse to dwell on imagined threats. You refuse to feed anxiety with speculation. You choose trust over vigilance. Chosen ones who remain protected understand this truth deeply. God does not warn and then abandon. He warns and then walks with you. Every step, every season, every transition. So let fear dissolve. You are not exposed. You are covered. You are not vulnerable. You are anchored. You are not being hunted. You are being refined. Move forward calmly. Speak selectively. Rest deeply. God has already accounted for everything you are becoming aware of. Nothing is out of control. Nothing is slipping past Him. You are safe to continue your journey without tension. There is another layer of protection God is establishing in you, and it is subtle but powerful. You are learning to trust yourself again, not in pride, but in alignment. When your inner compass is tuned by God, you no longer second-guess every feeling. You no longer doubt every pause. You no longer override intuition with logic just to please others. That inner trust is protection. Many chosen ones were once hyper-aware of their surroundings because past seasons required survival. But this season is different. You are no longer surviving, you are stabilizing. God is teaching you that constant alertness is not the same as wisdom. Wisdom is calm awareness without tension, and that calm is where true protection lives. Another way protection manifests is through emotional detachment from outcomes. You stop needing things to go a certain way to feel secure. You stop clinging to responses, reactions, or recognition. When outcomes lose control over your peace, manipulation loses access to you. That is strength. God is also protecting you by refining your relationships. Not everyone will walk with you into this next season, and that is not loss. That is alignment. Protection often looks like distance forming naturally, conversations fading gently, connections loosening without conflict. God removes friction by removing mismatch. Some of you are learning that solitude is not loneliness. It is recalibration. In solitude, your spirit resets, your mind quiets, your emotions settle. That reset strengthens discernment, and discernment is one of the strongest forms of protection there is. Let me say something that will bring deep relief. You do not need to be constantly guarded to be protected. Guardedness comes from fear. Protection comes from trust. When you trust God's presence, your posture softens. And when your posture softens, peace deepens. God also protects you by limiting what reaches you emotionally. You may notice that things that once hurt no longer penetrate as deeply. Words bounce off instead of lodging inside. Opinions feel distant instead of personal. That emotional insulation is not numbness, it is resilience. Another sign of protection is clarity in decision-making. You no longer feel rushed to respond. You no longer feel pressured to commit. You pause naturally. And in that pause, wisdom speaks. God often protects His chosen by slowing them down. Let this truth anchor you. Protection does not always feel dramatic. Often it feels like calm, like steadiness, like being unbothered. That is God's work in you. You are not meant to live braced for impact. You are meant to live grounded in trust. And when trust is present, fear has no place to stay. So continue gently, continue faithfully, continue calmly. You are not exposed to danger. You are enveloped in guidance. God is closer than you think, and His protection is already active in ways you do not need to manage. This season is about authority, not exposure. Chosen ones, listen to me carefully now. This season you are in is not about being seen more. It is about being rooted deeper. Many misunderstand this phase because the world equates growth with visibility. God does not. God equates growth with authority. And authority is formed inwardly long before it is recognized outwardly. Exposure is loud, authority is quiet. Exposure demands attention, authority commands respect without asking. When God shifts you into a season of authority, He reduces your need to explain, perform, or prove. That reduction can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you were once affirmed through visibility. But discomfort here is not loss. It is transition. You may notice that you are less interested in being understood, less interested in being validated, less interested in being seen the way you once were. That is not detachment from purpose. That is maturity stepping in. Authority does not chase recognition. Recognition eventually chases authority. Let me say this clearly so it settles in your spirit. God is not hiding you. He is grounding you. Grounded people do not need constant exposure to feel alive. They know who they are when no one is watching, and that is where true power lives. In this season, God is teaching you restraint as strength. You are learning that not every thought needs expression, not every moment needs documentation, not every feeling needs a platform. When you can hold life without broadcasting it, you develop gravity, and gravity draws respect. Some of you have felt tension between wanting to share and feeling called to stay quiet. That tension is the refining of authority. Authority asks better questions. Is this necessary? Is this timely? Is this aligned? When those answers are unclear, authority chooses silence. You are also learning that impact does not require frequency. Repetition without substance weakens influence. God is teaching you to speak less and mean more, to act less and carry more weight. That is the difference between noise and authority. Another sign of this season is internal stability. You are not easily swayed by opinions. Praise does not inflate you. Criticism does not deflate you. That balance is rare, and rare things attract attention without effort. Authority does not react emotionally to observation. It remains composed. Let me bring peace to those who feel like they are doing less. You are not doing less. You are consolidating strength. God often reduces activity before increasing responsibility. He simplifies before expanding. That simplicity creates clarity, and clarity strengthens authority. Authority also changes how you relate to time. You no longer rush. You no longer feel behind. You trust pacing. You trust unfolding. Rushed people seek exposure. Grounded people wait for alignment, and alignment always produces better outcomes. In this season, you may notice fewer but deeper connections. That is authority at work. Quantity fades, quality remains. God is not interested in surrounding you with noise. He is interested in surrounding you with truth. You are also learning to let silence speak for you. Silence communicates confidence. Silence unsettles insecurity. Silence preserves energy. When you no longer feel the urge to respond to everything, you reclaim control over your inner world. This is important. Authority is not arrogance. It is humility with backbone. You are humble because you are grounded. You are firm because you are clear. There is no need to dominate or withdraw. You simply stand. Some chosen ones feel misunderstood in this season because authority does not explain itself easily. People used to access may feel distance. People used to noise may feel confused. That is not your burden to fix. Authority does not chase comfort. It maintains alignment. God is also teaching you to trust your presence more than your performance. Your presence carries peace. Your presence carries clarity. That is why some people feel something shift when you enter or exit spaces. Authority moves atmospheres quietly. Let me say something freeing. You are allowed to be powerful without being visible. You are allowed to influence without being loud. You are allowed to grow without announcement. God sees it all, and His recognition is enough. In this season, your energy becomes your message. How you rest, how you respond, how you remain calm, these things speak louder than words. Authority is revealed in consistency, not intensity. You may feel less dramatic, less reactive, less expressive. That is not dullness. That is depth. Deep waters are still, and still waters carry strength beneath the surface. Chosen ones who embrace this season stop competing for attention. Competition dissolves when authority forms. You no longer compare paths. You honor timing. You respect process. That inner peace is the mark of leadership. So do not fear this quiet. Do not resist this inward pull. God is not taking anything from you. He is adding weight to you, and weight creates influence. This season is not about exposure, it is about embodiment, becoming what God has been shaping quietly all along. Stand calmly in that truth. You are not falling behind, you are stepping into authority. Conclusion. Walk calmly, God is ahead of you. Chosen ones, let this truth rest gently in your spirit as we close. Nothing you have sensed is accidental. Nothing you are becoming aware of is random. God allowed this message to reach you now because you are ready to understand it without fear. What once might have unsettled you is now meant to strengthen you. You are not being watched because you are weak. You are noticed because you are steady. You are not being exposed. You are being established. And God does not establish what He does not protect. Every step you take is already accounted for. Every season you enter has already been prepared. Walk calmly. There is no urgency in fear. There is no power in anxiety. God goes before you, not behind you. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to monitor attention. You do not need to shrink or perform. Remain aligned. Remain disciplined. Remain peaceful. Remember this always. The chosen ones who carry the most authority move with the least noise. They are rooted, not reactive. They are aware, not anxious, and they trust God enough to rest while others watch. If this message resonated with your spirit, then you already know why it found you today. Before you go, chosen ones, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this message with other chosen ones who need this confirmation and peace. And comment 777 in the comments as a declaration that you are aligned, protected, and walking forward in divine wisdom. Stay calm, stay grounded. God is already ahead of you.